Hello. Hey there. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. She took the words right out of my mouth.
Shout out to Tia Louise with a new single.
People are just talented and gifted and blessed and dropping singles and CDs and hits and books and the stuff showing up on TV. All kind of things. Big stuff. Yes, he is. And pray you guys are having a fantastic Friday.
Today's been a long day. And I'm just glad to be here. Yeah.
Feel free to tag a friend, share this video. We are on Facebook Live as well. Dr. Sha-Lai Williams Woodson, so long. If you just happen to be on Facebook, but please, if you are on Facebook and you haven't started following at _ Kindred Connection yet on IG, please, we encourage you to do that. We would love to transition fully to our IG page. So, sometimes changes hard. We talked about that last week.
We did. But sometimes you just gotta go with it.
Yes, for sure. So,
I think that kind of ties in with today's word. I think it does.
all this stuff is like coming together
I
and
know.
clicking and
It's
connecting.
like the Lord is really
So, welcome.
speaking
Yes.
to us, through us.
We are.
Because most of the time we be preaching to ourselves.
Yeah. You guys just happen to get to hear, some of it. Some of what
Right.
we're talking about.
But,
So we're super excited. So welcome to the folks on Facebook, folks on IG. And I think we will go ahead and get started. I should have tagged you. Well, I think I did tag you, but I should tag myself. I don't know if it's possible. Because I can't see it on my phone. We're
that's interesting.
always
Why
trying
not?
new and different stuff.
Oh, maybe because it's maybe if you want. That's
Right
how I
there.
looked on.
There we go.
Oh.
Okay. It's a here we are.
We still learning. I remember like the second or third episode.
Right.
We were still
Hey,
trying to
good
figure stuff
job.
out, but there's just things that change every day, and we're always again as you see we're in a new setting,
Yes.
so we just love switching it up on y'all.
Trying something. We in the house.
Yeah, it's because it's hot outside. But
So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Just a reminder: this is Kindred Connection, 2 generations, 1 purpose.
telling the truth and total transparency.
So,
You
you want to start?
Yeah, you go ahead and kick it off.
Okay, so telling the truth and total transparency. So I'm about to be transparent.
Yeah.
So I Marco Polo'd Alleiah on Monday, and I was like, listen, the struggle. I don't like to be told what to do. Like, that was pretty much my whole bent. Was I don't like to be told what to do. Like, I don't. What is that? What's wrong with me? What?
Yeah.
So we totally were like, I was like, can this be a topic for Friday night? She's like, sure. Got it. We have 2 cameras going again. But yeah, so we were just kind of talking about what that meant, and so that was how the title came up of free will or nah. I get that from my sister. My sister says that a lot. So free will or not, like, do we really have choice? Do we really have like, do we have to do certain things? So it's just a conversation about that, and that is where it came from. And Nodella was mentioning, to be sure to say that we don't own the rights to the song. We totally gave a shout out to Tia Louise. So that is her song. That is not our song. We don't own the rights or copyright or any such thing. We are just promoting our sister in Christ. So be sure to check her out on, I'm sure, all platforms. So Tia Louise. And what's the name of the song?
Broken Pieces.
Yes. Shout out to Tia Louise. All right. So with that in mind, with this whole concept of free will or not, we have some questions that we're going to pose to ourselves and you all. So feel free to chime in and let us know what you think. So we're going to start off with what I said. I don't like being told what to do or that I have to do something.
Yeah.
You know? And so I shared a little bit about how I feel about it, but Alleiah, so how do you react when you're told you have to, like, and when I say have, I need y'all to understand that I'm saying that with like bold letters, underline, capital, like so you have to do what I'm saying. So how do you feel about that?
It's crazy because I guess when you just asked me the question, scenario kind of popped in my mind that relates to my last relationship. And I think when it comes to being told something that you have to do, depending on what it is, my reaction can sometimes be like, but that's not what I want to do. And it kind of reminded me of the scripture, I think it's in Romans 7 or Romans 8, where it says that, if there wasn't a law for something, you wouldn't know that, or if there wasn't a law against something for you to do, you wouldn't want to do it, or how am I trying to put it? I can't remember the exact scripture. I have to look it up. But it's basically like if there wasn't a law against it, if you weren't told not to do something. So I related to the circumstance that came to my mind. So dating within our church, there's a process. And so back previously with my last relationship, when that all was first beginning, we were recommended or suggested like not to talk outside of church. And so I was like, but what you mean like not talk outside of church? But it's like in that time not during that time, but after the fact, I realized that wouldn't have been something I wanted to do if there wasn't a rule or a suggestion against it. So I wanted, because there was a law against it, that made me want to do it more. And so being told that I couldn't or that I shouldn't, I was like, but, I got these feelings, these emotions that want to be satisfied. And so therefore it's hard to, accept being told what to do or what not to do. So that was just a quick example from my perspective. Sometimes it's not always easy because sometimes our flesh wants to do what we want to do, what we think is right, or we don't want to do it because who are you to tell me what to do? So I definitely have moments where I'm resistant or I'm hesitant or I'm like, but I'm grown. So, but I've learned, so I don't really carry that mindset much anymore because I'm not grown. I don't want to be grown. I want to be a kid forever, but what about you?
Oh my gosh. I send very long-winded messages to my friends when those things happen. Like Alleiah was saying, like literally, I have a physical reaction in my flesh. I get hot, my stomach starts hurting. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm immediately on 10. So I'm like, how you? What happened? The whole I'm grown, I'm an adult. If you saw the little flyer, like I pay my own bills, like you know how we get, especially ladies, neck and all this extra stuff going on. And it makes me, it doesn't make, I choose to respond by digging my heels in even more to do the opposite of what has been asked of me, because I feel like now I got to prove to you that you don't run me, that I'm wrong, you can't tell me what to do, and it just becomes like this battle of wills.
Yeah.
And it's probably so unattractive, and probably, to the Lord and in general to the people dealing with me at the time. But truth, total transparency.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. And so that kind of leads me to my next question of like, where does that come from? Like, where does that resistance to doing something that you've been told to do? And again, I want to keep emphasizing that, where it's not, a suggestion, not where someone has asked you, but they have told you that you have to do X, Y, and Z. And so, I kind of spent some time thinking about it, and I don't know, maybe like I don't know. I honestly don't know where it comes from. Someone saying, it's a war in our members for sure.
Yeah.
Our spirit and our flesh are constantly fighting against one another. Our flesh is at enmity with the Lord and all of that. So I don't know. Maybe it is simply because of sin and iniquity from birth.
Right.
Because even little children are like that, right? You tell them not to do it, and they're gonna keep inching towards it,
right?
Just to see. So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts? Like, where do you think that resistance comes from?
For me, I think it just comes from the desire to just kind of want to do things your own way. It comes from, spirit of pride. And dang, really, how do I lose my train of thoughts like this? I don't understand. Like, I was going to say something good. I know it.
Lord, bring it back.
But the question was, where does it come from? Dang it. It literally like ran in and ran out. I wouldn't have even had time. But I'm so upset.
So as she's remembering, the Lord is bringing it back to her remembrance. Again, if you guys have thoughts, feel free to comment. Let us know. How do you deal with something you have to do or told you have to do, and where do you think it comes from? And as we're thinking about that, the other thing I wrote down was, when I try to think of examples of me and this resistance to things, I thought Law and Order, not the TV show, but like just the concept of Law and Order. So, for example, our bishop says a lot of times about like the speed limit. Like, so the speed limit is a whole thing. In case you're like me and didn't know, it's a whole thing. And if we do not obey the speed limit, obviously we're breaking the law, and we're not being good Christians, because that is something that we are expected to do. So for me, I'm really highlighting this transparency thing.
Come on, Jesus. We overcome.
The speed limit is like a suggestion. It's a hint. It is a possibility. Like,
it's a recommendation.
You could go 65 if you wanted, but you can go up to like 74.
If it's 9, it's not really speeding.
Yeah, it's not really speeding. So, like, in my mind, that's how I process certain things.
Yeah.
So if a person, so this is law, right? This is the law. I'm fudging it a little bit. I'm towing the line, as my first lady would say. I'm kind of playing with fire with that. And it's like that sometimes when it's a person. Like, so this is how I deal with the speed limit. So, like, if my boss came to me and said, "You have to work on Saturday," you know what I'm saying, baby? She said it though.
Oh.
How would I respond? Would I say, "Sure, boss, you're the boss. You need me? I'm there. What time?" Like, would I respond like that? Or would I be like, Marco Polo, texting my husband, like,
guess what she just.
it would be like a whole thing because I'm being told I have to do something.
Yeah.
So, in a weird way, in a weird sense, I'm gonna call it disobedience. My disobedience has no respect of persons because when there's a speed limit, or in this example, my boss, I'm gonna buck just initially, just a hair, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Does it make a difference to you whether or not it's like the law versus some person? Because you mentioned your past relationship,
right? I think it probably can be a difference because I guess I can't think of the right word to describe it, but when it comes to the law, there is a way to escape it, or there's a way to get around it. There's not like a police car tracking you everywhere you go. So you can kind of like get away with breaking the law because that's what it is. But we not gonna sugarcoat. But when it comes to like with in the context of you and another person, I think that causes for more of a reaction because it's it's right there. That person is like telling you what to do, and you're just like, it kind of doesn't really leave room for that leeway or for that, for you to kind of just ignore or to treat it as if it's just a suggestion. It's kind of like, you're being. I don't know if this is making sense.
No, it actually does.
So I think that's the difference there because just like even let's just say you go to the store and you want to steal something, not endorsing that at all, but just saying it's just kind of like
follow that commitment.
it's just like some things are easier to get away with than others because there's not always someone watching you. But when it comes to like something like work, it's kind of like if you're being told what to do, it's kind of expected of you to do it like right then and there, or on Saturday you need to be at work. So yeah, I think it kind of causes for a difference depending on, I guess, the context or the nature of the thing. But the law is kind of maybe it's similar to like the written and the spoken word. I don't know. Okay. The law is something that's written. Again, you can find ways and to get around it, to justify it. It can be changed. But if you're being told to do something, it's that authority that then depending on the person, it kind of changes. Like, I guess how serious you take it, or yeah.
So kind of that
makes sense, guys.
Immediate consequence versus delay.
And there we go.
There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about that. Like, just because punishment or consequence is delayed doesn't mean it's not coming.
Right.
So in this example, like if my boss is in my presence and makes this request, then I might be more likely, though internally I may still be having those reactions.
Right.
I'm probably gonna do what she says because she like right there. Versus a speed limit is an inanimate object from the side of the road that I can pretend that I did not see. And gonna do what I want to do.
Right.
And then someone who's watching on Facebook said, and it's about discipline and willingness to change our behaviors and habits. So you have to say a little bit more about that and help us Help us all.
Yes.
Um,
That is good too.
that is good because it's like a head knowledge, like we know that,
Right.
but actually following through and doing it is like a whole nother subject. So the next thing was how to deal, or how do you deal with the consequences of free will, or when you choose to not obey certain rules or requests. So we can stick with the whole speed limit analogy, boss analogy, possibly relationship analogy. Do you want to say something? Want to start it?
Um, I I think depending on the choice you made, it's kind of like you have to be willing to deal with whatever consequence comes, um, because it's not like we're not aware of what the possible consequence could be. But if we're willing to take that chance and say, "Oh, I'm gonna go 75 and a 50," or I'm not gonna show up to work on Saturday, and we gonna see if I still have my job. Like, you know what the possible outcome is, and if you're willing to take that chance, you have to be willing to deal with whatever the consequence is. So, it's just kind of with that again. It kind of leaves no room for like debate because you're given this. You're being told what to do, and if you don't do it, it's kind of like this is what will happen. And if you do it, then this will happen. Or with the speed limit thing, like you won't get a ticket. So um, it's just kind of like you have to just be willing to take the consequence. Because I know I've been in situations where I've got put over for speeding. I was like, dang. But it's like it hasn't stopped me from speeding.
Right.
I can't lie. Because I've gotten tickets, of course. I'm like, it doesn't stop me. So it's just like I pay my ticket because I knew what I was doing. And I knew that there would come a consequence if I got pulled over for it. So I wasn't going to fight it and be like, yeah, I wasn't speeding.
Right.
It was just, I knew it.
Right.
So you just got to deal with it. You do. Are you bold enough to do it or not do it?
Right. They're saying don't write a check.
You can't cash.
Behind can't cash. Yeah, that's so true. So I have not. I've gotten one ticket in my life.
In your life?
In my life.
I got you.
Bless the name of the Lord. You're probably like, wow. I ain't got nothing to do with that now.
Wow.
But in my mind, like Alleiah was saying, I'm like, I have to be willing to accept the possibility of a ticket if I am comfortable or bold and bad enough to disobey the rules. So if I get stopped after I pray and the officer comes to my window, I'm gonna be like, I was sick. I'll be like, you know what, you bring.
But look now,
my bad.
Some of these cars, it don't even be feeling like it, and then you look and you like, oh shoot, I'm doing what?
Right. So you have to be aware. But so kind of, sorta, I'm saying in my mind right now, as I'm not driving, that I would be prepared for the possible consequence of my action for that. You know, if we're sticking with the boss example, and I just didn't show up, then my silly self would be like, "Oh, you have met this Saturday?"
Right.
Because I kind of need my job. The Lord will provide, and He's using my job right now.
Faith without works.
But I feel like I would be a little bit more fearful with that consequence.
Yeah. Because,
like, it has greater ramifications, right?
Right.
If I lose my job, then I'm not getting a paycheck, and then I might not be able to pay my bills. If I get a speeding ticket, like one, if I get a speeding ticket, then, that's possibly money I have to pay an attorney, or, points on my insurance. Like, they're more short-term, kind of small consequences as opposed to, like, being unemployed.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes with, how to deal with the consequences of wanting to have free will,
Yeah.
wanting to be grown, is kind of figuring out if the consequences um outweigh. So the pleasure or the benefits of kind of doing it your way, if those outweigh the consequences. Like I remember when I was younger, and if my mom had given me a directive, like be home by this time, or don't do this, or do this, or then I have an opportunity to be like, okay, so if she said come home by 1 and I don't get home until 2, what's she gonna do?
Right.
She probably just gonna yell at me real hard.
She probably sleep anyway.
That's cool. She probably gonna tell me I can't hang out with my friends next week. Now, mind you, I'm a little older than most of y'all, so it wasn't like, oh, I can still text them, Facebook them, FaceTime them. Like that wouldn't happen. Like if I couldn't see my friends, I couldn't see my friends. I could probably deal with that. But if she was like, I don't want to take your car, then it would give me pause.
Make you consider.
And I would probably be, but I would weigh it out.
Right.
I would juggle it, and assuming I know what the possible consequences might be. But what if we don't know? Maybe we're guessing. Yeah. And it's something that we're being told to do, to tap into the spiritual side, we're being told to do by God, and we're resisting it, and we think we might possibly know the consequence. Yeah. But we don't. And so we're playing with that fire. Yeah. And how might that look if we think, oh, okay, well he said do such and such, and I don't do it, thinking my consequence is just gonna be, oh, well, he'll tell me again tomorrow. What if he don't speak to me anymore? What if that's the consequence? Maybe if now I don't hear the Lord's voice anymore because I had free will. Yeah. And had a choice and chose wrong. My what's his name from Home Alone? Uncle Carly.
But yeah.
Like, we don't want one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, say what you was gonna say because you wrote something down. So it's good.
No, it just kind of made me think about a question that I posed, I believe, in my devotional, and it had to deal with Russian roulette. And I kind of just thought of this as she was speaking, and I was just like, how many times are we gonna, or as you were talking, I was like, why do we even have to weigh the options? Why can't we just do as we're told? Why do we have to be the person or the beings that's like, oh, but I have these options, or this way will actually work better for me? When it's just like, just do what you're told. And it just kind of had me thinking, like, how many chances are we going to take with God? Let's say if he's the one telling us to do something, and we're aware of what the consequence can be, but we're still, like, towing the line until, boom, you shot the shot, and now you sinned, you fell, you stole, you had sex. Like, how many times are we going to, like, take our chances before the big, the worst of the worst consequence happens? So, so yeah, that just popped in my mind. I was just like, I think that's the real issue with having free will. It's just like there's so many options, there's so many ways, and sometimes I get overwhelmed. Like even going to the grocery store, I'm just like, it's too much to choose from. Like I don't. That just makes it hard to make a decision because of all of the options that we have. And again, of course, God gave us free will though, so we have the choice to do it this way or to do it that way, to say yes or to say no, or to take our chances with, doing it a little bit but not 100%. And it's just like we could just be digging ourselves in the hole because we want to do things our way. And if we would just listen to the instruction, we could probably save ourselves from suffering the consequence or getting the speeding ticket or losing our job. Right. So it's just like don't don't try God like that.
Right.
Don't do it. Don't test the law. Don't see what you can get away with. Like, again, this is hard for me. As
Oh
we
my stop.
Cause I gotta drive home.
It's gonna take her 30 extra minutes to get home because she going to speed limit.
You know, it's so funny because Bishop really has mentioned that numerous times over the course of my time. And sometimes, you know, I think about it every time I drive. I'd be like, but oh, I'm just really trying to get here.
Right.
I'm like, oh, this feel too slow. And I think, oh, wow.
You preaching because I felt like if she'll say it, I'm about to say it. Go ahead.
I think our comfort levels can get us in trouble. And if you have something else, you know, write it down so you don't forget. But, because I was just thinking, I'm like, I'm so used to doing not the speed limit that doing the speed limit is uncomfortable. And maybe we're just too comfortable in our comfort levels. And, you know, that's what makes it more challenging for us to do what is right because we're not used to it. We're so used to doing things our way. And we're so used to getting away with it that when we are told to do something, we're like, okay, but who are you? And I've been doing it this way for this long, so I'm not about to change now. And it's again like, how long are we willing to stay in our own comfort until the consequence happens? And then we're like, oh, dang it, I should have listened to them. Like, it just ain't even got to get to there. So.
No, when you're like, because I'm loving the sweet. I wasn't thinking this when we were first talking about it, but you know, saying it is taking too long. I'm going too slow.
Ooh.
And how much of us and how many decisions do we make out of that? Like, you know, as we would say, like this instant gratification or this microwave society that we're used to. Like, when we're told to do something, whether it's from God or a person, generally speaking, it's for our good. Yeah. And generally speaking, if we're choosing to use free will as a way to rationalize it, it's because either we're comfortable doing it the way we want to, we're not trying to change, or we feel like that's going to cause some hesitation or some delay in some way. Like, well, I don't want to do it your way because my way, I know I'm going to get there in 15 minutes.
Right.
See, I'm just sure I'm going to do it your way. It's going to take 45 minutes. I got to get on highways I'm not familiar with, or, you know, go through paths I'm unsure about. But it's really like for our benefit. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Y'all. Let me tell you something. Breakthrough is happening right now. Deliverance is in the building. Oh, cause
yes, hallelujah.
But yeah, so yes, sometimes we don't think about the unintended consequences. We don't think about the consequences at all. We definitely don't think about the unintended consequences. Yeah. And this kind of leads me into our next point, unless you've got something else you just wrote down.
No, I think we might be both moving into the next point.
So the next one is, again, as I'm thinking about this whole like free will versus not or no. So as I was a Marco Polo in Korea, I was like, and something, tell them what you do, blah, 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 blah. But then I thought about my child. So I really appreciate the Lord because He teaches me a lot about my relationship with Him and His relationship with me through my relationship with my son. So as I'm saying what I don't want to do, what I'm not gonna do, what I don't like to be told what to do, I tell my child what to do all the time.
Right.
And like be mad when he'll do what I say do. And when he's like, but it don't matter what you want to do. I'm the mama. I know what you need. You need to go wash your butt. Or whatever the case may be. You need to do your homework or whatever it is. I don't always give him an option. Yeah. And so my point was with that is like, how do we reconcile this whole being told what to do as an adult versus the expectation we often have of children. Any child,
Yeah.
like whether or not you're a parent or whether or not you're like you have nieces, you know, when you talk to a child, your automatic expectation is they're going to listen to what I say do. If I say sit down, I mean sit down. Like this is not a discussion. This is not a negotiation. Sit down.
Yeah.
And so how do we reconcile that as adults when we're in situations where we are being told what to do?
Yeah.
But now because we have a certain age on us, suddenly it's different.
Yeah.
Like now you can't tell. I don't want. I want to stand. I don't want to sit down. I don't want. I don't like all of a sudden now. All this pushback we wanted to do from age 2 to 18.
Yeah.
Now we whoever coming at us, we giving it to them back. So how do we reconcile that?
That's a good question.
Woo.
That's a good
if
question.
You have thoughts, answers, deliverances, comment, share, let us know.
That's a good question because I just think, man, it's just when I think about it, I'm like, man, how is God like really looking at me? How is he really, how does he really feel about me is what I'm thinking. Because as you mentioned, like, when we tell our kids or our, nephews, whoever, nieces, what to do, and there's this expectation and they don't do it, or if, you're bold enough, like my 2-year-old niece, she just tells you no, like, how does that make you feel as the parent or as the, guardian, the responsible person? Like, no, you're not gonna tell me no. Like, you need to do what I said do, or there's gonna be a consequence. And I think even us as adults, I just think that I don't know why it's harder for us, because I just think as you grow, of course, you develop, you become more mature, you have responsibility, you start making choices for yourself. So now you're kind of in this mode of like, I know for me, I think I had a problem because I learned so much on my own. So when it came to this new way of doing things, it was kind of like, no, it wasn't. I wasn't being told or forced to do it, but I think as we get older, we kind of have more of a choice. But as kids, again, the expectation is for them to just do it because we're older, we're more mature, we've been there before, we know what the consequence is, and so we expect our child not to do something because we know what the consequence is because we've done it before, or we've been through it before. So I hope this is all making sense, but yeah, I just think we just have to do better. Have to do better. So, what would you say?
Yeah, we have to do better, and I think having these kind of conversations. In fact, I know having these conversations helps us at the very least shed light.
Yeah.
On a situation, and forces us to put it out there and forces us to realize like the next time it happens, because I'm like, okay, if there's no real difference between an adult and a child, so for example, if someone is telling me to do something and it's for my good, then whether I'm a child or an adult, I should receive that. Like I shouldn't buck up against that or resist that. The challenge for me is if I feel like it's not benefiting me. Not that it's bad, but not that it's necessarily benefiting me. So then, am I selfish? Am I inconsiderate? Am I prideful? Like I think that's the thing that's like playing around in my head too. It's like, how to really reconcile that, like in all honesty and seriousness, like how to reconcile that, like Okay, so the Bible says, be as little children in general, not just with God, but in general, like to be humble and to be gracious to others. And, the Bible says, if possible, you know, give. Like, so give. So if a person asks me for something, if in the form of you have to do something, they're asking me for something like as a childlike Christian,
Yeah.
I should be like, oh, you want my coat? Here's my Coke. Oh, you want me to go 1 mile? Here's two. Like that's how we should be. Yeah. But in the back of my little human mind, it's like, okay, but I'm cold, so I need my Coke. I'm tired. Ooh. I don't want to walk that extra mile. Right. So yeah, so it's like I can kind of grasp the childlike part. I can kind of grasp that I have to humble myself and do it. But I think the part that I'm still like the hump that's not quite been overcome yet is the okay. But what if it like absolutely doesn't benefit me at all? Like,
I think a thought that I had as far as reconciling is would having a conversation make it easier. So if instead of being told what to do, you were approached and maybe the person who was telling you would offer it as a suggestion maybe, or would take the time to have a conversation and say, hey, this is what I would like for you to do because X, Y, and Z. And if you choose not to, then this is what the consequence will be. Because even, as a parent, like you have the authority, like if your child doesn't do something well, you can tell them, well, if you don't do this, well, I'm going to take away this. Or if you don't do this, well, I'm going to take away this. So it kind of gives them a understanding of what options they have. But at the same time, I think you probably mentioned it earlier, like, why does does it really, have to be a conversation? Why can't we just do as we're told? Do we always have to have that understanding? So, but I think as far as adults, we want that understanding because, like you said, if it doesn't benefit me, I'm like, okay, well, why am I doing this? But if I can see the benefit from what you're telling me to do, I'm gonna do it, no questions asked. But if I don't, I'm like, okay, I need you to explain to me why this will work. I need you to show me why you think this way will work better. I want you to tell me why, I need to do 65 and not 75. But but I just think that might be like the biggest difference between, of course, being an adult and being told what to do and as a child, like, because you think children don't know what's best for them, so you telling them what to do because you have their best interest. You expect them to just do it, and sometimes they do. Sometimes they might fight back. Sometimes they might give you a little attitude, but it's the same thing that we do. Right. But I think as adults, it's easier for us to commit or to submit to doing something when we have understanding and we can kind of, I guess, see the vision in a sense of like what we're doing, why we're doing it. But again, it's just like with God, He's not gonna always explain to us why He's telling us to do something. He's not gonna give us the full picture because just like Pastor Medina preached, like the word is a light unto our feet. Wait, it's a light unto our path, a lamp unto our feet, or the other way around.
It's the lamp to the feet, light to the You're right.
God. But it's so the light is where we are now. It's not the destination because if it was there and we could see it, we would have the option to say, actually, no, I don't want to go that way. Actually, let me go left because that's not what I want to do. Like, God expects for us to just do what He's calling us to do right here in this moment because He sees the end and He knows what the bigger picture is, and we can't have that resistance. We can't give that pushback all the time because we just delay ourselves. We hinder our own growth in that. We hinder or block out our own blessings because of pride or selfishness. So, um, so yeah, I think that was just a long, a little interjection, but yeah, I think that's the difference. Is that as adults, we need that understanding.
Yeah, we need that understanding. And as you were talking, I was thinking about like I think that is a struggle for me too, because if it's an adult to adult conversation, depending on what it is, I'm like, you don't really have a consequence that will be detrimental to me or that will make me
Yeah,
like more, like even if I don't want to do it, you say like do it.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like that example with the speed limit. Okay, consequence of getting a speeding ticket and money and fines and higher insurance. Like those are like I don't really want to deal with them. You know, my boss saying something to me and the possibility of like getting written up or some kind of lost job obviously is a severe consequence, but like I don't really want to do that. But if
right.
it's two people, whether it's a friendship or relationship or marriage, like depending on what you say, I'm kind of like, I'm fine.
Yeah,
Okay, you're not gonna talk to me. Right?
right.
You know, it's like, what do you really have that's a consequence? Like with my child, if I say to him, "Hey, you can't play on that tablet," like the world is over.
Yeah.
It like the power that I wield, um, is so great that the consequence that he might have to deal with is enough to make him be like, okay, I don't want to brush my teeth, but I'm gonna brush my teeth because I really don't want to lose the tablet or TV time or whatever. But like most, in my opinion, now again, you guys help me. If you're watching this later, comment. Like I seriously want to hear from you all. Like, what consequence does another adult have that would make you do something that they say do? Like, and so I guess with that in mind, like that's where you get to the point where like I do it because it's the opposite. I do it because I love you. I do it because I want you to be happy. Or I do, you know what I'm saying? Because the actual opposite is not really like significant enough to be like, if you don't do what I say do, I'm not gonna talk to you. You gonna sleep on the couch or old movies and they picking the guys in the doghouse or whatever. Like most of us, we like,
yeah,
that's okay. I'll get over it. You'll get over it. We'll move back. So that kind of like being told what to do or have to do and like coming with the hammer doesn't have the same weight because the consequence doesn't have the same weight. And so ultimately, you're whether they come to you nicely with a conversation and understanding and dialogue, or they're like, "Hey, you better have my breakfast ready when I wake up in the morning." Like ultimately, it's gonna be like, you know what? I'm childlike. I want there to be peace. I do all things in the spirit of excellence is unto the Lord, and I just want to be, giving, not run over, not a doormat. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But like, it's not enough to like have an argument or no peace or whatever the case. Like, but it's not because you're telling me I have to do it. It's more because at the end of the day, I've decided that what you want in this case is more important, and so I'm just gonna do it because I'm telling you, like, if I don't think of it in that context, my little hard headed, stubborn, hold the word self will be by myself on the island. But I'm like, okay.
Show me. That's
so I know you wrote something down, so I wanted to give you a chance.
But yeah, I was just going to ask because when you mentioned the idea of telling your child to brush his teeth, and even though he may not want to because he's like, well, I'm playing on the tablet, so I don't feel like brushing my teeth. I kind of just asked the question: how long are we willing to do something until we see the benefit of it? Because your child might not see the benefit of brushing his teeth right now, but 10 years from now, when he got a perfect smile, he's like, I'm glad my mama made me brush my teeth all them times. So it's just kind of like, how long are we willing to just do something until we see the benefit of it? How long are we willing to give or to serve, to be used by God until we see the benefit of it? Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's, against our own will or something we don't want to do. but it's just like, how long are we willing to do it, and what is the attitude that we'll have while doing it? Because we could be resentful, we could, choose to be bitter, we could choose to be like, "Ugh, I can't stand her because she making me do something I don't want to do." But if we, um, just change it in our minds and decide like, this is what you want me to do, so I'm going to do it. And then of course, prayerfully, like, you see the benefit of it. Um, it's just like, how long are we willing to commit to doing something we don't want to do? Because, you know, there has to be a reason for it. There has to be purpose that comes out of it. We might just need to challenge ourselves to like, just do it and see what might happen. Because we don't know. If we just do the speed.
We're gonna come back in there.
What? What will God do?
We're gonna come back. I'm gonna just keep letting Marcus drive. I'm gonna let Marcus drive. That's my husband. But yeah. Obedience is better than sacrifice.
It truly is. So how long?
That's good. That's good. How long are we willing to do it?
Like, let's just try it. If we're gonna take a chance, let's try doing the right thing.
Right.
Instead of the wrong thing and waiting to see how long we can get away with it.
We'll report back to
you. Yeah.
If either of us consistently.
Because I'm still like, dang, I gotta drive home.
Just I know what. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's like, but yeah.
So she's tested immediately. I probably won't be driving again for a little while. So you actually used two feelings. My last thing was, what are some of the consequences of highlighting this concept of free will and being able to just kind of do what you want to do, and nobody can tell you what to do, and you're not gonna do what you don't have to do. And literally, the two of the things I had written down, you said resentment and bitterness. So, like, from a personal standpoint, if I feel like I'm being forced to do something, then that could very well lead to, bitterness and resentment and just a hard-heartedness and like all these malice. We go on and on.
Yeah.
All these negative things. But also, as I was writing, I wrote down acceptance, because at some point, I gotta stop kicking against the prick and understanding again that in these various scenarios, it's not meant to hurt me or harm me or cause me pain. Perhaps God is using this person or this situation to train me, get something out of me, get something in me. And if I just go with it, if I just choose this feeling, if I just follow this request from this person, whoever it is, and do it with the understanding that at some point this benefit, and maybe the benefit is just a well done, my good and faithful servant. I might not ever see it on this side of glory. That I get to that place, and conversely, how might the other person be feeling? Like, if somebody is saying it, maybe they don't know that they're saying it in a way that is offensive to me or giving me a hard time. So maybe they're saying it, I'm resisting and not doing it. So now they're angry. Now they're frustrated. Now they're feeling some kind of way. And maybe they would get to a point of acceptance as well.
Yeah.
But look at all these like horrible feelings that are going on before we get to that. Versus just being like, you know what? This person asked something of me. And I want to be the best person, the best Christian, the best mom, the best wife, the best girlfriend, the best employee, whatever. I want to be pleasing to God. So my flesh doesn't like it, but as a person, Nodella said earlier, practicing discipline and a willingness to serve, I am just going to do it. Yeah. I might pray about it in my private time. But I'm just going to do what the Lord said.
I think that's a good thing. That was one of the things that I had written down when you had mentioned, I guess, like driving, and you were saying, oh, well, if I go your way, it's going to take 45 minutes and all this stuff. And so I just kind of had the thought of like, what do we do when we're in those situations? Like, how does our resistance make the other person feel. And I just kind of had the thought that in that situation, a natural response would be, see, I knew I shouldn't have listened to you. And what does that do to that relationship when you say those words? Like, again, how are you making the other person feel like you don't trust them, or like you might even make them feel insecure, or, whatever. So I think we also too have to be mindful of like, how does our resistance make the other person feel, or how does our pride or our selfishness wanting to do things our way, how does that make the other person feel? Because there's with some things there's really no right or wrong. There may be preference, but we have to also be sensitive to the person that is demanding the request, because it may, that direction, that route may have worked for them in the past, but let's just say you listen to them and on this day there's traffic because there was a bad accident, so they sitting over there and they see like, dang it, and you going off in your head and you mad, and it's just like people. I know my emotions people can easily read, so I'm gonna sit quietly because I know if I say something, I'm not gonna say the right thing in that type of situation. And so again, it's just like we have to just be open to the other person, and understand maybe why it is that they're asking or telling us to do this thing. And it again has to be, we have to just be obedient to it, even if we don't see the benefit right away, because we don't want to allow those roots of bitterness or resent.
Resentment.
For some reason, I was like, "Is that the word?" But we don't want those seeds or roots of bitterness or resentment to grow or to be planted within us. So it's just like, maybe this was just a bad day. Maybe you'll try that route again later to test it out and see if it's really a better route. But if not, then when you by yourself, you go your way, and when y'all together, I mean, you just gotta figure it out what works. So
right, for sure.
But yeah,
yeah. Well, we definitely pray. I know at least on IG we probably have like a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
We pray that you guys got something out of this. I know we did.
Yeah.
And as I always say in my videos, like when the Lord challenges me, I want everybody to be challenged. So I'm not in this thing by myself.
Right.
So I know I got some thoughts now, some better thoughts, hopefully, on this whole concept of free will. And so I just want to just shout out real quick before IG cuts out. If you are in the St. Louis area, ladies, I want to invite you out to a SISTAH event on Friday, August 21st. You can go to aboutfacecollaborative.com to find out more information and to RSVP. I'll be there. The lovely Alleiah will be there. Also, Sister Anita Hayes will be there. So I just want to put that bug in your ear. So go to aboutfacecollaborative.com for that and other things. And you want to say something quickly about your book?
Sure. Monet's Truth, the 28-day devotional, is available for sale. So if you are struggling in your faith or having a hard time being disciplined or consistent, Monet's Truth is definitely for you. They say it takes 21 days to form a habit. So go ahead and let's work on, building that consistency to read and to commit our time and ourselves to God so that He can use us for His good and His glory. So,
Amen. Amen. Well, we love you guys. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're on Facebook, again, remember to follow us on IG @_Kindred Connection. If you're on IG, be sure to tell a friend, tag us, tag them, help get the word out because we are just, two ladies trying to put it out there. Yeah. So, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we got more to come, y'all.
Yes.
Some good stuff coming up in the next few weeks.
We do. So be sure to tune in. So Kindred Connection, 2 generations, 1 purpose.
Telling the truth and total transparency.
Bye. We love y'all.